Why does CloudTruth exist? In the past, I've had to spend a lot of effort moving configuration data around to the various components of a system. And I was working on a new system with Terraform to provision all the infrastructure for that system. And part of that requires, hey, I'm generating this resource, a KMS key in this case, and I needed to share the identifier of that generated resource with my application, which needed it to encrypt and decrypt data. So rather than having to do this yet again of transferring this data or figuring out a one-off to transfer this data, decided to come up with a system which allowed you to connect all these sources of configuration with all the consumers. And thus CloudTruth was born. The problem doesn't go away. As your system scales up bigger and bigger, you have more consumers of configuration and you have more sources of configuration. And it gets very hard for your team to be able to understand from a top-down perspective what configuration needs to go where and how changes affect the various parts of your system and how they interact. A big problem that people complain about these days is tool sprawl or configuration sprawl or all those things. And the CloudTruth solution dovetails very nicely into that. Your sprawl doesn't go away ever, and your sources of truth never get consolidated down to a single one. And you really have to deal with it. But it's a normal part of a system scaling up. You add tools and processes to deal with this extra complexity, and that's normal. It's not the wrong way to do things. However, at some point you hit a tipping point where it becomes very hard to manage all this flow of information and understanding of what your system's doing. And if you think about it, right, systems become more and more distributed as they grow up, and that's the right way. That's the correct way to do things, right? As you develop, you want to have your components abstracted and distributed to make it easy for your developers to not have to deal with all the mental load of thinking of the entire system. They can just focus on their one piece. However, when you're managing a large system, the opposite's true, right? You need a centralized view of what your system is doing and how changes impact it. And a distributed system is very tricky to manage in a centralized fashion. And configuration is just one small part of that, a very important part of that. But the goal of CloudTruth is to allow your team to manage or to build their applications and systems in a distributed fashion, but still give you the ability to manage that from an ops perspective in a centralized fashion. You have this configuration hub or control plane of CloudTruth helping you aggregate all your configuration from all the various sources, organize it in a way that makes sense to you and matches how you've laid out your application, and then deliver it to all the consumers of that information. And that just helps you reconcile that distributed nature of building your application with the centralized needs of managing it.
Here's more context on why we started CloudTruth. We learned a startling epiphany from interviewing thousands of DevOps leaders. Fully 80% felt that managing their config is still in the Wild West phase of IT evolution. So why is this? Because as individual teams work in parallel, they are implementing different configuration management practices and patterns, leading to a nearly impossible task for DevOps teams to manage all this complexity. It doesn't have to be this way. One of the goals we have for CloudTruth is to help teams manage their config sprawl with a collaboration layer on configuration data, including guardrail enforcement. This means a system to sync and share secrets and parameters across all teams and projects, and a way for DevOps or platform engineers to enforce type checking, rules, and ranging on config values. In the macro view, as the industry embraces shift left and GitOps style workflows, it's important that configuration management follow this trend. That's why CloudTruth exists. Provides application developers with self-service access to configuration data, ultimately increasing deploy velocity and better outcomes. This is one way to move config management left on the SDLC spectrum, and there is precedent here. This philosophy is similar to what's happening in the security realm, where devs are given new capabilities in their IDE to write more secure code. Think of CloudTruth as your configuration co-pilot on your journey to better configuration management.
Listen, we know as business leaders, we're under tremendous pressure, especially software development business leaders, to grow our products, to grow our feature sets and delight our users. And really, it's hard to find new sources of productivity. We don't have unlimited budgets and unlimited sources of talent. And so it's really important that you match your tool chain. And we think it's really important for you to focus on putting a better set of tools in the hands of your teams around secrets and configuration, managing those specifically at scale. And we think that this has a huge system effect. There's a lot of dispersion in the lag and lead time and systematic friction around poor management of secrets and configuration at scale. And we think that this pulls a lot back in, and we know it does from the work we've done with our customers and the work that we've done building the platform. So what this does is it allows leaders, especially as business leaders, to delight our users with a steady stream of new features and improvements. It allows us to retain and attract our talent and build a positive culture for our business and our community. And it importantly allows us to grow revenue, market relevancy, and deliver profits and returns for our shareholders and stakeholders. So we really think this is an important part of the modern software development toolchain and part of really what gets teams moving more quickly and getting closer to continuous deploys. We look forward to hearing from you.